particular our time is 6:30, and of course on Thursday as well 6:30. And we have a weekend seminar about Japa retreat, which will be announced later. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yama Om Vishnu Padaya, Krishna Pastaya Bhutale, Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamini Tiramane. Namaste Saraswati Devi, Gauravani Pracharane, Nivase Shasunyavadi Prasatyade Sakarane. Om Ganatiminandasya Jananjana Salakaya, Chakshu Samaritan Jaina Tasmai Sri Gurave Namah. Sri Chaitanya Manavistam Stapitam Jena Bhutale, Sayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Sa Pandantikam. Anchakalpatubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhayavasa Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Hare Krishna. So happy to see the devotees in Bangalore. Did I really speak about this topic last year? Really? Shall I speak about it again?
Yes.
It's actually a wonderful topic because Srila Prabhupada explains in one part of Krishna book that a Krura's journey to Vrindavan teaches us how we should journey to Vrindavan. Now, there's two levels of the journey to a Krura's journey to Vrindavan and our journey to Vrindavan. There's two levels. One level is when we go on pilgrimage to Vrindavan. Now, raise your hand if you've visited Sri Vrindavan Dham. No. Why? Why?
Next year.
But it's January. If it was December, you can say that. But it's so long. When will you go next?
Hopefully this year.
Okay, you take him with you. Do you have a cold? Yeah. Sleeping under the fan or something?
Yeah, traveling.
Oh yeah, it's traveling. And you traveled, did you go by plane or train from Mayapur?
Train.
So that's a long ride. What train did you go on?
Toronto while going, and the superfast Howrah superfast express while coming. Traveling.
Yeah. The first time I went to Vrindavan, it was from Calcutta, and I went on the Tufan Express. You know what that means? It takes 2 days to get there. But it was worse because there were this was in 1974, and at those times there were a lot of strikes in Zawad, so it took us so long. It was incredible. But somehow or another we arrived, and somehow or another we got back to Calcutta. So I assume you went and came back. And how was your journey and your time in Mayapur?
It was very nice.
Tell me something wonderful about it.
This was the first time when we were staying in dormitories. In some dormitories, we were 5 of us together. In
Yes.
some of us, some there were 10 of us together.
Yes.
We would all wake up at 3:30 and have bath in the cold water and finish our morning routines, and then rush for the hall.
Yeah.
And after that, the whole schedule was very packed.
Yes.
Couldn't think of anything else except the agenda for which we went there. That was Krishna consciousness.
So you're very focused.
We were like, the whole plan was made in such a way.
And how many of these I assume it was the young men who went, yes? How many of you went to Siddha Mayapur? Oh. What was your experience like in Mayapur? In one word, how would you say it in one word? That's more than one word. Try one word. What word would you say? Amazing. Were you there, Prabhu? No. They didn't take you? Why?
To take care of the temple.
Okay. Were you happy here when all the devotees were there? Or were you wishing you were there? Were you angry at Harichat Prabhu? See if we can start a little.
Not angry, but I felt I will be very happy when all the youths are there.
Yes. Yes, very. Yes. And you were happy when they came back too? Yes. And how would you say your experience in one word?
This time I didn't went, but I have been there. So in one word, it was so ecstatic.
That's 2 words. So ecstatic. But okay. So if you were going to edit that and make it only one word, which word would you throw away and which word would you keep? So or ecstatic?
Ecstatic.
Okay. Who can think of a different word? Who was there? Raise your hand. Prabhu, you didn't raise your hand. But it's okay. Yes. Spiritual, yeah. And what did you think of the TOVP when you saw it? Adbhut. Yeah. Can you imagine having to clean it all if that was your service? It's huge. There'll be room for so many devotees to serve there. So, consider that if you were going to Mayapur, say there's 3 ways to go. Imagine. One is by plane, one is by train, and one is by walking. Now, none of us probably would take the walking way to go. And probably it would have been easier in many senses to take the plane to go. And the train was really nice in one sense, in many senses, because you're all together, but it's longer. Now, which one is the best? Raise your hand, though. Yes. Oh, yeah. Raise your hand and wait for me to say yes. Because some devotees said, yes, I listened, I raised my hand, and yes. Plane, you see. Why?
You can spend a lot of time on the top.
Yes, that's a good reason. Yes.
I think train because we can spend more time with devotees.
Yes. And you don't have to go through security and everything like that. It's so much anxiety. And then making sure that your bags come out the other end of the security. Yes.
Train because when we are with the devotees, we can
Yeah.
move, which otherwise you can play, you open our eyes, we can
Yeah. But no one would go by walking. But what would be the benefit of going by walking? Because that's the way in previous time, you have to raise your hand. In previous times, people used to walk when they went on pilgrimage. So what would have been the benefit of walking? Yes. Yes, something like that. Yes, that's what I was thinking. But yes. Eagerness. Yeah.
Bhakti intensify.
Because as you're walking, you're thinking, oh, I'm going to get to Mayapur. Soon I'll be in Mayapur. It'll take some time. And he doesn't, what will Mayapur be like? And I've been there, and what will the Ganga be like? What will this be like? What will that be like? And when you take the plane, you get there quickly. But your body gets there quickly, but often it takes days for your mind to arrive. But when you walk, your mind has gotten there long before you're there. And when you actually get there, it's such a, in that sense, a wonderful, extraordinary, wonderful experience. But as some of the devotees said, you get there more quickly, and everyone's so busy nowadays. But when Mahaprabhu went from Jagannath Puri to Vrindavan, he walked. And the whole time, he was ecstatic. The whole time he was chanting. The whole time he was thinking about Vrindavan. And every river he saw, that reminded him of Vrindavan. Every mountain he saw reminded him of Govardhan Hill. So in that way, the experience upon arriving, as Prabhu told me today, that His Holiness Radhanath Maharaj said, that when Mahaprabhu finally saw, when he went to Vrindavan, practically speaking, when Mahaprabhu went to Vrindavan, he was so ecstatic, just by, even before, he was so much intensely meditating on Vrindavan, that even the word Vrindavan would be an udipana, or would trigger so much ecstasy in him. But then he was actually there. His ecstasy, his experience was so intense that actually he could only stay for 2 weeks, even though it took him much longer than that to walk there. But his ecstasy was so great, and recently some devotees had gone on a yatra to Jharkhand, and they saw the places where Mahaprabhu danced, and there's the footprints in the rock of you've seen that? But where the animals were also dancing, and his footprints are there. These places are actually Vrindavan, Mayapur, Jagannath Puri. They're very, very special. And it's like Krishna is everywhere. Yomam pashyati sarvatra sarvam samai pashyati. But in these places, it's like there's a thin curtain over the dhams. And you could almost see through the curtain and see in Vrindavan Krishna and Krishna's pastime. There's a sweetness that comes through. Have you experienced that when you go to Vrindavan, Mataji? Yes? Actually, or have you been to Vrindavan? Do you think it's like any other place? No, I think of it like a bubble. And when you enter the bubble of Vrindavan, the atmosphere has a special thickness of sweetness. Because actually Vrindavan it's a manifestation of Srimati Radharani, or you could say it's a manifestation of Sandhini Shakti, Krishna's Sandhini Shakti, or Lord Balaram. And when Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Srila Prabhupada's spiritual master, went on pilgrimage to Vrindavan, he wouldn't let the devotees on pilgrimage, this was in the 1920s or 1930s, he wouldn't even let them cut the twigs of the trees to use as toothbrushes, because maybe they still do that in some of the village areas. They use neem trees, this thick, for brushing the teeth. It's very good for your teeth. But he wouldn't let them do that in Vrindavan, because his mood was, everything in Vrindavan is meant for the service of Krishna. Everything in Vrindavan is meant for the service and the pleasure of Krishna, to facilitate Krishna's happiness. Actually, the whole world is meant for Krishna. And when we try to use the world for ourselves, even though it's meant for Krishna's pleasure, we get into trouble. Because everything, nirbandha sambandha yukta vairagya uchate, everything is meant for Krishna. It is his energy. So Akrura had to go to Vrindavan to see Krishna. But he was carrying a message from who? Raise your hand. From. Try one more time. Just raise your hand. Yes, Prabhu. Yes. Thank you. Very good boy. Sorry, I'm just.
From Kamsa.
Yes, from Kamsa. Now, how did that happen? And our what I'm going to speak about is that, but really it's going to be Akura's journey into Vrindavan, because from Akura's journey into Vrindavan, we learn how we should go to Vrindavan. So one example that he sets is how we should go on pilgrimage to Vrindavan. And that's what the main thrust of what I'm going to explain. But even more than that, how we have to live our life in such a way that we attain life's goal. Now, everyone, how many of you work in the IT industry? You don't? Not yet? But when you work, always, when you do something, when you act in life, there's no motivation to act unless one has a goal. So everyone has goals, and some goals are well thought out, and some people really don't think too much about what the real goal of my life should be. But still, you need a goal in life. And the basic preaching that Srila Prabhupada taught us, and the basic message of Prabhupada's society, is that human life is different from animal life. This is the basic message that we have for the world. That human life, when a soul is in a human body, he has a different responsibility than a soul who's in an animal body, because an animal is limited by his body. His intelligence is limited to the field of eating, sleeping, mating, defending. This is basic preaching that we all know. But a human being has greater intelligence, greater consciousness, more ability to understand more aspects of reality. And he has the ability to ask very difficult questions beyond eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. And the basic questions he can ask is, who am I? Am I the body? In which part of me is me? Because we have so many desires, and we have good desires, we have bad desires, we have this is me. Which is really me? Who am I? And then understanding, like from the Bhagavad Gita, that we are eternal. And one could indirectly perceive this when one has human intelligence, by understanding that Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, Dehe nosmin yata dehe, Jovinam jara. If I'm my body, which body am I? Am I my 2-year-old body, or a 4-year-old body, or a 6-year-old body, or a 60-year-old body, or a 76-year-old body? I'm the same person. But my body has changed so much. So for my body, which body am I? Am I the 2-year-old, or the 6-year-old, or the 60-year-old, or the 77-year-old? So human life begins when one understands one's eternality. And we're watching every day in ourselves and in the people we meet. We're watching people in human bodies act in the land, the eternal soul acting in the land of the temporary. You follow what I mean? The eternal soul, his actions in the land of the temporary. That's what we see people engaged in. How does a soul act in the land of the temporary? But I've heard Prabhupada say that Chaitanya Charitamrita means, literally, Chaitanya means consciousness, Chaitanya Charita actions, Amrita. So Prabhupada said that Chaitanya Charitamrita, and what Mahaprabhu is teaching us, is what is the activity of the soul, the eternal soul, not in the land of the temporary, where he's just concerned with temporary things, but the activity of the eternal soul in the land of the eternal, the land that he belongs to, the land of eternality. So our basic preaching is to for ourselves, when we preach to ourselves and to others, is to remind people that they and we too should ask questions about who am I and who am I? I know who I am temporarily. If I was to ask you, who are you? Okay, who are you?
Servant of Krishna.
Yeah. And in the land of the temporary, what is your temporary identity? Tell me some of your temporary identities, upadis.
I am a resident of in Bangalore. My name is Naveen Kumar. I am working in IT profession.
What else? What other upadis do you have?
Like I
What other identities do you have? That's another way of looking.
father's name.
Yeah, you could say one identity is you're a son, you're a worker, you're where were you born?
In Jharkhand.
In where?
Jharkhand.
Jharkhand, where Mahaprabhu was. Now he has you dancing too. So you're from Jharkhand. I'm a son. I'm a yes.
Employee. I'm a
IT person. You're a programmer? No?
yes.
Yes? Yes? What are you programming? Job? Huh? Python, yeah. All those who are Python programmers, raise your hand. All those who are Java programmers, raise your hand. All those who program in C++, raise your hand. No one. What's it called? The one that the websites are programmed in? Yeah, what? HTMP? Okay, all those who, HTML. But there's another one that all those who are web programmers. What?
CSS?
No. You program in CSS? So many different identities. There was one class I was giving in the Delhi temple one time. Did I ever mention this? And I was, you're not your body, this, that, and everyone, yes, yes, yes. And then I played a trick on them. I said, all of you you have some similar characteristics. This was after. How many of you are Punjabis? And everyone raised their hand. It's very deep, actually. Even if you're a devotee, if India won the World Cup, would you be happy? So Akrura was going to Vrindavan to see Krishna, even though he was a messenger of Kamsa. And Kamsa was calling Krishna. Actually, I would love to tell some of the pastimes leading to this. Maybe I'll tell them very briefly, but we're going to run out of time a little bit. Yes, a little bit. That Kamsa, fearing his death by the hands of Krishna, or he didn't know who the eighth child he had heard. You all know this from the Janmashtami pastimes, how Kamsa or Vasudeva had taken the child, Krishna, Vasudeva Krishna, crossed and exchanged it with Yashoda's child, and then Kamsa tried to kill that child, and that child rose up into the sky. That was Kamsa's worshipable deity, Devi, and said, the child who you're trying to kill me, but the child who will kill you has already been born. So I once heard a psychologist say the most dangerous thing about human beings is that they have a reason for everything they do, no matter what it is. So Kamsa, after understanding that some child had been born in the area would one day kill him, he decided to kill every child born in that area. And I'm sure he was thinking, what could I do? He had a reason for it. I have to do this. But what kind of consciousness is this? It's worse than animalistic, practically speaking, this type of consciousness. To protect oneself, one will kill thousands of people. And this is what's going on in the world, practically speaking, of led by politicians and things like that, because people are so cruel, and Kali Yuga has progressed so far, and people's sensitivity and consciousness is so down due to the sinful activities people perform, etc. So Kamsa decided to kill all the children, and then at some point, and everyone who he sent to kill the children, beginning with Putana, Shakatasura, Trinavarta, Pralambasura, etc., they were all killed by Krishna. But Kamsa didn't know at this time that Krishna was actually the eighth son of Vasudeva. He didn't know it. He had some hint in his mind, but he didn't know it. So he sent Aristasura. The last two demon friends of his that he was going to send was Aristasura, and the last one was? Keshi, yeah. So he sent Aristasura, who was in the shape of a bull, Vishabhasura, and he was huge, and he was powerful. And he was trying to kill Krishna, and he was trying to terrify all the residents of Vrindavan. So he went into the area of Vrindavan around Nandagan, and just when Krishna wanted to, it was in the evening, just around dusk, and Krishna wanted to, at that time, have a rasa dance with the gopis. And this Aristasura came in, and he was roaring. Bulls are so powerful, actually. When you can see in Vrindavan or sometimes in Delhi, a bull will stand in the middle of the road like this, spin around, and everyone will go around. And if you've ever been near a bull or something, when he roars, can anyone do a bull roar? No? What? Can you do a cow moo? Yes? Yes?
Yes.
Please. That was really funny. But anyway, when bulls roar, they don't sound like that. They're ferocious, and he was huge and powerful and asuric. And he roared, and he was rushing all over Vrindavan, tearing up the earth. It says in the Bhagavatam that the hump on his back was practically in the clouds. And it was so terrifying. He was breaking houses in Vrindavan. He was just showing off his strength. And the cows were having miscarriages, and the ladies were having miscarriages. And all the residents of Vrindavan, one of their common characteristics was whenever they were in difficulty, and this is something we should all remember and try our best to practice. The residents of Vrindavan, whenever they were in difficulty, they would turn to Krishna and they would call out to Krishna and beg his protection. And one thing that I always think is funny is one of the reasons why they did this is because they loved Krishna, they saw his power. But another reason is when Krishna was given his name by whom? Gargamuni. Another name of Gargamuni is? Yes, thank you. Gargacharya, Gargamuni. He gave the name, he gave different names to Krishna and said, Anena Sava Durgani Yanjas Yanjas Trishiti. He told Nanda Maharaj that whenever there's any difficulty, you turn to Krishna and you will cross over that difficulty. Something that is the essence of what being a devotee is. That when there's difficulty, a devotee turns to Krishna. But Gargamuni also told Nanda Maharaj at this time, you keep everything I'm telling you a secret because I'm known as the priest of the Yadu dynasty and we want to keep Krishna's relationship with the Yadu dynasty a secret from Kamsa, so don't tell anyone. But somehow everyone in Vrindavan knew that whenever there was any difficulty, they turned to Krishna. So I asked the question, how did they know if it was a secret? You know what my answer is? Vrindavan's a village. So everyone knows everyone else's business. It's something like an ISKCON. Everyone knows everyone else's business. That's my answer to that question. So, Aristasura came, and Krishna, and Nanda Maharaj and the other cowherd men, they came running out they had to do their duty and to protect the residents of Bethlehem, but they came running out, but they couldn't really do anything. But Krishna came running in front of them, and he stood there in front of Aristasura. And he, being a cowherd boy, you're not a cowherd boy, are you? You're not a cowherd boy, right? Are you an IT person? Huh? Huh?
Earlier I was.
Now? You're...
Now I join a community.
Okay. But your training was in IT? Yes, but not a cowherd boy. If you were a cowherd boy, you would know how to make the sounds of cows and bulls. Can anyone make the sound? Anyone grow up in a village and know how to make the sound of a cow, actually? Well, I heard someone here, it's coming. I heard something from back there too. Yes. We won't look. Go ahead. Don't laugh until after, because I want to hear it. That's pretty good. Can you make a sound of a bull? Okay. But it's not like that, but it's ferocious. So Krishna, having grown up with the cows and the bulls, do you know how to make the sound of a calf? It's a little different than a cow. Okay, never mind. But so Krishna made this sound, the Aristasura was there right in front of him, and Krishna made the sound of a bull to challenge him. It was quite, well, it was good though. And Aristarchus became so angry when he heard that. And Krishna began to slap his body like this. And Aristarchus understood this was a challenge. And Krishna said to him, you sinful creature. Because he said this, it would be nice if I read the verse in one sense, but you're asatama, you're a sinful creature. Because he wanted to make it clear, because Krishna was going to kill him, and it was irreligious, terrible to kill a bull. So this wasn't actually a bull he was making the point. This was a sinful demon. So you are asatama, and I'm going to send you to the abode of Yamaraj, to death. And then Krishna was standing with one of his friends. Some acharyas say it was Sridham, some say it was Sudam. And he challenged him, and the bull was so angry and was pouring the ground like this. Before they charged, they'd like dig up the ground. And then Krishna he went like this. He put his arm on the shoulder of his friend, just like that. He was just so cool. Just mocking him and laughing at him. And this made Aristarchus so angry. And he charged at Krishna with his huge horns, pointed horns. It's terrifying, actually. Because those horns of the cows and bulls, there's one kind of desi cow that has these straight horns. Did you ever see that kind? And they're very, very nervous. And they're very dangerous. And when they charge you, you want to get out of the way very quickly and make sure they don't. Because especially this bull who was after Krishna, he put his head down. And Krishna grabbed the bull by its horns. And he threw him, the Bhagavatam is very clear, 18 steps backwards. He just gave him a glimpse. Because Krishna, after all, is unlimitedly powerful. He's unlimitedly full of knowledge. He's unlimitedly beautiful. He's unlimitedly wise, unlimitedly wealthy. Just imagine what unlimited strength, how strong is unlimited strength. We can't even conceive of what unlimited strength is. We can't conceive of what unlimited beauty is. Unlimited wisdom. And Krishna has that. So with just this tiny part of his unlimited strength, he threw him back 18 steps. And the bull was shocked. He fell to the ground and he stood up. Now, sometimes in our lives, we get thrown backwards, sometimes 5 steps, sometimes 18 steps, sometimes 100 steps, sometimes completely knocked out. And how do we react to that? Because, as I said, the Brajbasis, when they're in difficulty, they always turn to Krishna. But when we somehow get in difficulties, sometimes we act like, at least I can say for myself, like Aristasura, who became still angrier. Or sometimes we become humble. And that's what devotees should do. We shouldn't be in the disciplic succession of Aristasura. We should be in the disciplic succession of Srila Prabhupada and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. That we should understand that Krishna somehow is present in this, and there's some lessons when some difficulty occurs. But I find it's easy to give classes on these things, but very difficult to do when it's actually happening. So in any case, Aristasura, being a demon, he became still more angry. And the nature of anger is that when one becomes fully angry, not a little bit angry, but really fully angry, it takes over the whole consciousness. And because it's tamagun, it's the opposite of sattvagun. When one is in sattvagun, when one is is filled with love for Krishna, one's consciousness, Premandana Charita Bhakti, is focused, one pointed on Krishna. But when one is angry, one's consciousness is focused. Have you ever become angry like that?
Multiple times.
Huh?
Multiple times.
Really? At once? Multiple times at once? I thought you had a unit system. Multitask. But your consciousness is full with one thought, but it's the opposite, exactly opposite of Krishna consciousness. But it's an angry thought. And Aristasura became filled with that. And he put his horns down. This time, he was going to charge Krishna and capture him. What bulls will do, they'll catch you with their horns and throw you in the air and then catch you again and step on you. So this was his plan. But Krishna grabbed his horns, and this you have to visualize. He grabbed his horns, and then it's like if someone turns you by the ears. Your head has to follow, and then if they're strong enough and they turn you, you'll have to fall over. So Krishna grabbed him, and he turned him by his horns and threw him to the ground and began kicking him and kicking him and kicking him. And then he pulled out one of his horns. And what did he do? Killed him with it. Yeah.
Horn and just kicked it.
Yes. Now, there's so many things in what a Leela in Vrindavan is. But look at it from this point of view now. So we looked at it from the point of view of a little bit of Kamsa sent him to kill Krishna. But look at it from the point of view of the residents of Vrindavan were terrified. They loved Krishna. But when this bull came, they were terrified. And they called out to Krishna. And then Krishna came running. And there was this huge bull, and they loved Krishna. They weren't thinking, oh, he's the unlimited supreme personality of Godhead. They just were thinking, our heroic, wonderful, beautiful Krishna. We love him so much. So the bull is there, and Krishna is there. And the bull becomes goes charging at Krishna. So what do you think the resident thinking?
I think they were probably
Well, if you, yeah,
scared for Krishna.
yeah, well, yes, a little bit. If there's someone you love and they're in a dangerous position, and we can't even imagine the amount of love they had for Krishna. But just imagine the terror, the fear. Krishna was everything to them. And this giant bull was charging. What were they feeling? Complete anxiety for Krishna. And then Krishna kills him. Definitely killed him. Then just imagine what their experience was. We can't really imagine it because we don't have the love that they have, and we're not watching the bull come. But just imagine the kind of happiness and relief and ecstasy and pride in Krishna, this great hero that they were experiencing. Relief, and they all came running to Krishna. Nanda Maharaj, Krishna. Oh. Mother Yashoda comes running to him. So this is what Vrindavan is made out of in one sense. These loving exchanges, and this, if you want to understand what's really going on in Vrindavan, understand this. These are the loving exchanges, the tsunamis of anxiety with the Krishna plays his flute and the gopis go running out to meet him. And then he says, oh, it's very nice you've come here. Now you can go home again. You've seen the beauty of the forest. Now you can go home again. And they go, what? So it's not just Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. It's not like that. It's this continuous bhakti ras amrita sindhu with its waves, different, the ocean with its waves, and sometimes the waves come together and make a big crest, and sometimes they cancel each other. This is the ocean of rasa, bhakti rasamrita sindhu, and this is what's going on in Braja. And of course, we can't really understand it. But when you go to Vrindavan, you get just the sweetness of the atmosphere, gives us a hint that there's something here that is so amazing and so wonderful that I want to taste it. And that's what it was actually like in Prabhupada's presence. Just like, I think of when you go to Vrindavan, it's like entering into this different universe, like a bubble. And then when you leave, because when we give classes in Vrindavan, all the devotees say, how can we take this with us? And we have the sad job of saying, it's not so easy to take it with you. But it's yours, the experience that you had, you'll never forget it. It's like some Braj Raj in your heart is there forever. You know it's there. But it's very special. Or a wonderful kirtan, or that special time in Mayapur during, it's not of this world. It's subtle, but it's not of this world. Do you agree?
Sure.
Do you agree?
I agree.
Do you agree? Do you agree? You too? You? Yes? Yeah, I think we all agree. You agree? You have been to Vrindavan? You've been to Siddha Mayapur? Is it just like Bangalore? No. Is it like Mangalore? Hyderabad? Delhi? No, it's just the energy. It's like a fragrance from a different realm. So, I was trying to say something about... yes. Then, after Aristasura is killed, there's a wonderful explanation how Radhakund Samakund came from that. But we won't speak about that. But what we will speak about is something that Narada Muni did right after that. Narada Muni, after Krishna killed Aristasura, he went to Kamsa and told Kamsa that you think that the 8th child of Devaki, who the prophecy was that he was going to kill you, you think that child was a girl. But no. The 8th child of Narada told Kamsa directly the 8th child was a male child. And Yashoda's 8th child was a female. And Vasudeva, out of his great fear, had taken the male child and exchanged it with his friend, Nanda's child, the girl. And that was the child that you tried to kill. Vasudeva had cheated you. And Kamsa, we'll make this a multiple choice question. Do you think he said, must be the arrangement of Bhagawan? That's A. I should accept. 2, he became very angry. 3, anyway, there's only 2 choices in this one. You all get 100%. What do you think? What did he do? He became so angry. He pulled out his sword and he wanted to immediately kill Vasudeva. So angry. And Narada Muni, and another characteristic of an asura, completely selfish. So even though he may do something that's good, seems good, the motivation is selfish. And that's really how it is with every conditioned soul who has a hankara, that means hankara vamudama. Selfishness is the essence, self-centeredness, selfishness. And every devotee, pure devotee, even though it may appear that what they do is selfish, everything is for Krishna's pleasure. It is selfless in that sense. So Kamsa pulled out his sword, wanted to kill Vasudeva, and Narada Muni said, no, 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 no. This isn't wise, Kamsa. Because if you kill Vasudeva, then Nanda Maharaj will find out, and he will take Krishna and Balaram and hide them, and you'll never see them until it's too late. So Kamsa decided to kill Krishna in a different way. He decided to, instead of me running to get Krishna and kill him, that I'm going to lure, capture Krishna, make him come to Mathura. And there in Mathura, I will make a plan, a plot, a scheme to have him killed. So his decision to not kill Vasudeva was the same in one sense as his decision to kill Vasudeva, 100% selfish. His intention, his motive, and this point is actually very important about what our intention is. And this will come up when we hear of Akura's journey to Vrindavan. This is a very important point. But I won't speak about it now. It will come up later. But Kamsa then, Narada Muni left. He had done his work, his business. He wanted to speed up the Leela. He wanted to speed up the death of Kamsa. So Kamsa at that time, he called for the elephant keeper, he called for Chanura Mastika, and he called, and he decided that we're going to have a Dhanur Jagya, a bull sacrifice, and it will be a great festival throughout all of Mathura, and we'll invite everyone in the surrounding villages to come, and we will especially invite Krishna to come. And when Krishna comes, when we bring him to Mathura, we will have him, yes, killed. So the elephant, they started to hold this Dhanur Jagya. I'd like to tell you the story about this Dhanur Jagya, the Dhanur, the bow, but I won't right now, from the Garga Samhita. But then the elephant, and I'd like to tell you the story of who this elephant was in his past life, but I won't. Unless you really want to know, because it's actually very important, but I won't tell you. Don't worry. Not so important. Unless you really want to know. You want to know? I'll tell you. Such a gentle soul. What's your name?
Purvit.
Purvit. Is there an English meaning to Purvit?
Gujarati word
Yes,
means like from east.
from the east. Are you from the east or the west?
I'm from west, right.
So why did they give you a name from the east? Because the east is the symbol of wisdom, the sun rising. So they wanted to tell you that you were meant to find wisdom in life. Go to the east. Yes? Did they tell you that? 2 rupees. So Kamsa, so the elephant in his previous life was one of the sons of Bali Maharaj. I can't remember his name. Does anyone know his name? If I heard it, I would remember it. But he was one of the sons of Bali Maharaj, and he was a giant, very powerful. and he wanted to go to Sri Rangam. And he wanted to go. And he was so big and powerful when he was on the road, he pushed everyone aside. I want to go to Sri Rangam. So to go to Sri Rangam is wonderful. But to push everyone aside like that is if you're the only person in the whole world who wants to go to, the only important person who wants to go to to Sri Rangam and no one else, doesn't make any difference. They just meant they're in the way. So that is not good. So keep that in mind. It's a point. So when he pushed everyone aside, he also pushed aside one very powerful sage who was old, and his name was, I think it was Tritamuni. And he pushed him aside, he knocked him down, and this Muni became very angry at him. And he said, you're acting just like an elephant. And I curse you that you will become an elephant immediately. So he actually became this very powerful elephant named Kuvalayapita. And then the son of Bali Maharaj, he said, very humbly, he said, oh, this was really improper of me to push aside. Oddly enough, he didn't say pushing everyone aside was terrible, but he said, I should have never pushed aside the sage. Because look what happens when I push aside a sage, he curses me to become an elephant. But so he said that, and the sage was actually pleased with his humility and said, I can't take back the curse, my words, but I will say that you as an elephant will be killed by Krishna, and that will be a great blessing. So that's the story of that Kuvalayapita. And then there was Chanora, and then he was captured at one point by Jarasandha. He was huge, powerful. And then there was Chanora and Mastika. So the plan was you put the elephant by the gate, and then when Krishna has to enter the gate for the wrestling match, then the elephant couldn't fit through the gate, so there's a logical reason for him to be there. And then we'll have him killed. And if he doesn't kill Krishna, then Chanora and Mastika, these huge, powerful wrestlers who had allegiance to Kamsa, they will kill Krishna. This was Kamsa's plan. So then it was a wonderful plan in the sense that he had all types of schemes and ideas how to have Krishna killed. But then the real challenge was how to get Krishna to come to Mathura. So the first thing he did was put Vasudeva and Devaki in prison. And then he knew that Krishna would find out that his parents were in prison, and then he would have to come to save them. And he would come to Mathura, and then the plan would be enacted. So that was one part of his plan. And the other part is to invite Krishna to come to Mathura for the great festival of the Dhanurjagya, which was on the Chaturdasi, because it was worship of Lord Shiva. And he had to send someone from Mathura to Vrindavan to invite Krishna. And since Krishna was a member of the Jadu dynasty, he was known as a member of the Jadu dynasty in Mathura, he sent the loyal member of the Jadu dynasty, Akrura. So he called for Akrura. And Kamsa was he was angry and he was cruel, but he also had he knew Rajniti, diplomacy, and he knew how to be very sweet when he wanted something. So he called Akrura, who came, and he said, and this was on an Ekadasi, and he said, my dear Akrura, there is no one more loyal than you. You are so generous-hearted and so loyal to me. I have one favor to ask of you. Would you go now as quickly as you can to Vrindavan, to Vraja, and invite Krishna to come and all the cowherd men to come too, because Kamsa wanted to kill Nanda Maharaj too for participating in this conspiracy of covering up who the actual child was, who was meant to kill Kamsa. So you please invite all the cowherd men and have them come to bring their taxes and their tributes, because I am the king. And come, we're going to have a great festival. And Krishna and Balaram, they are village boys. They've never actually seen the big city, the opulent city of Mathura. So please, and you could take this new chariot and you can bring them. So please invite them. This is the king's order. And also, we'll have a wrestling match, and we've heard that Krishna was such a good wrestler. He and the cowherd boys would wrestle all the time. And come, and it will be a great festival. And we'll have flags throughout the city, and everything will be decorated. It will be such a wonderful festival. And then Kamsa did something which I don't quite understand, but I've come up with my own reason for it. After he told Akrura this, he told him the actual reason why he wanted to bring Krishna. Now, why he did this, it didn't seem to be the most wise thing to me, but he did it. He said, the real reason I want to bring him is I want to have him killed when he comes. I will have him killed. So my thinking why he did that is sometimes when you become very afraid, when your mouth just goes blah, 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 and you just keep talking and talking and talking. And I think Kamsa was really afraid because he knew that he was going to be killed by Krishna. And like Aristasura, he would not surrender, even when the bow broke. And he was told by Parsuram himself, who gave him that bow and told him this was the bow of Lord Shiva. And he pointed to this bow and said, I will give you this bow, this dano that is Lord Shiva's bow. And if you can string it, I'll give it to you. But if you can't string it, it will be your death. And if someone can break this bow, whoever breaks this bow will be the cause of your death. Parsuram told that, and then he gave it to him because Kamsa was so powerful that he strung the bow. So that was the bow in the Dhanajagya. And on the first day, when Krishna comes to Mathura, he breaks that bow. And that bow was heard, the sound of the cracking bow was heard by Kamsa. And it cracked his heart. And he became still more terrified of Krishna. But he would not surrender. He would not say, Krishna, I've made a mistake. I've killed all your brothers and the sons of Vasudeva. Please forgive me. He couldn't do that. And Krishna would have forgiven him. But that's the nature of the demonic person, the asura person. He can't do that. He won't do that. He can't do it. He can't give himself to Krishna. Sometimes I think that I have somewhat of a little demon inside of me also. Sometimes that little demon is hiding, but he's there. Sometimes he's very apparent. He's there. So that leaves one more question. Why would Akrura, after Kamsa told him my plan is to kill Krishna, why would Akrura act as his messenger? And the answer is Akrura wanted to bring Krishna death of Kamsa, and he wanted Kamsa killed. That was Akrura's plan. So the next day, Akrura was Ekadasi, Akrura spent the whole night thinking about Krishna. Then the next morning, there's still another question, is how is it possible that Krishna would leave Vrindavan. We know, what's the verse? Do you know that verse? Vrindavanam pratyaja padam ekam nagacchati. The Krishna, he's caught. He doesn't take one step out of Vrindavan, but because he's caught by the love of the residents of Vrindavan, the Braja Gopikas, Nanda Maharaj, so he can't leave. They've bound him with their love. Just like on Damodar Leela, Mother Yashoda binds Krishna. And when she binds Krishna, and then Srila Jiva Goswami explains that Mother Yasoda binds Krishna. Now you don't do this again. Don't steal butter again. And Krishna, and before that, Mother Yasoda said to him, "You are just like a monkey. Why don't you do anything I say? You're like a monkey." And Krishna was crying and said, "If I'm like a monkey, I'm going to go to the forest and you'll never see me again." And then the Mother Yasoda became afraid. All this boy he'd run away. So she decided to tie him to the mortar. And the Krishna's just crying and crying. And Mother Yasoda was like this and told the boys, protect him, make sure he doesn't do anything naughty like this. And then she went away. And then as soon as Mother Yasoda was out of sight, Krishna began laughing and playing. And later on, soon he dragged the mortar from here to there. And then he dragged the mortar, and all the coward boys were with him. And he dragged the mortar, even though he was tied up. He dragged it in front of all the ladies' houses who had donated the rope to tie him up. And he had all the boys go and steal butter from their houses. But before that, while he was still he was laughing and playing with the boys. And then Balaram came. And Balaram was so upset to see Krishna tied up. And he said, "Who has tied you up? I will destroy that person. If the universe has tied you up, I will destroy the universe." He was so angry. And Krishna at that time was crying, making and he said, "Who tied you up, Krishna? Tell me, I will destroy that person." Krishna said, "Mother Yashoda." And Balaram, he said, "Krishna, why are you acting so naughty all the time? You're always getting into so much trouble." So these are just the ways that the leelas, the pastimes work in such a sweet way. Because and then Balaram wouldn't untie Krishna because he was tied by the love of Mother Yashoda. So similarly, the love of the residents of Vrindavan had tied Krishna up so much he could not leave. But yet he left. So there's some philosophical way to understand it, and then there's a very devotional way to understand it. And the devotional way to understand it, as explained by our acharyas, is that Narada Muni came to Krishna after he had killed Kesi, the final demon practically that Krishna killed other than Vyomasura. And he said, "Krishna, Krishna, Prameyatma, that you are the unlimited Lord." And he began to say, glorify Krishna. Narada Muni took him in a quiet place after the killing of Kesi. And he was the one who had to tell Krishna that the time of your Vrindavan Leela was now over. That was his service. And he glorified Krishna, and then he said, tomorrow and the next day, I'll see you kill the elephant. I will see you kill the two wrestlers, and I will see you kill Kamsa. And Krishna said, because Krishna was in the mood of a cowherd boy, he was mukdata, which means his consciousness by the love of the residents of Vrindavan was compressed. So of course we can't understand what the consciousness of Krishna was like really, because his consciousness is unlimited. But it's described as both sarvagya, he knows everything, and at the same time mukdata, it becomes compressed by the love of the residents of Vrindavan. So he was thinking of himself as just a cowherd boy. And Narada Muni said, I'm going to see you do this. And Krishna said, really? Will I really do that? Yes. And then after that, you will build a big city in Dwarka. Will I do that? Yes. And then you'll marry Rukmini and 16,107 other wives, and you'll kill. Really? But does that mean that I won't be able to come back to Vrindavan? And Krishna was very upset about that. But yet the Leela had to go on. And the residents of Vrindavan had to experience Krishna in the form of separation in Virahabhav. So our acharyas give one answer, that Krishna had to leave because his two devotees, Narada Muni and Akura, were requesting him to leave. But on another level, Krishna never leaves Vrindavan. But on another level, he does leave. But at another level, he never leaves because the residents of Vrindavan are always with him. And there is no difference between meeting and separation when one is on this level of prema. This is the teaching of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But that's a whole nother topic that I'm not qualified really to speak about, but it's not really, but I would say I'm not qualified to speak about, but it's in the teachings of Sri Chaitanya, the 8th chapter of Madhya Lila. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was speaking to Ramananda Roy, this is explained in a very wonderful way. And when Ramananda Roy starts speaking about this topic, Mahaprabhu covers his mouth, but Ramananda Roy speaks it anyway. No difference. So Akrura is going to go to Vrindavan. He spends all night on Ekadasi talking about Krishna. And then we'll read 2 verses that Kamsa, gentle Akrura, this is what Kamsa said. You always carry your duties so soberly, and therefore I'm depending on you. And just as powerful Indra took shelter of Lord Vishnu to achieve his goals, you are so wonderful and loyal amongst all the Bhojas of Vishnu. There's no one else as kind to us as you. Please go to Nanda's village where the 2 sons of Ananda, Kundubi, Vasudev are living. And without delay, bring them here on this wonderful chariot that you can use. Yeah, he's such a rascal. Comes. Sometimes our bosses act like that. Yeah, oh, you're so nice, and we'll give you this, and you just do this work 24 hours a day, and we'll give you 1 banana because you are so loyal and kind to the company, and we value you so much. Okay, 2 bananas. So in the next chapter, verse 1 and 2 on this. Oops. Sri Sukha Uvacha. Akuro api chatam ratrim madhupurjam mahamati usitva ratam astaya prayayo nanda gokulam. Sukadev Goswami said, after passing the night in the city of Mathura, the high-minded Akura, because Sukadev Goswami, he wants to see the greatness of Akura's devotion. He only wants to see that side, even though it was Akura's plan to take Krishna out of Vrindavan and to break the hearts of the residents of Vrindavan, especially the Braja Gopikas. So he doesn't Sukadeva Goswami, as he's narrating this, he just wants to see the devotion of Akura. He doesn't want to see the other side at this point. So, after passing the night in the city of Mathura, the high-minded Akura, means his great devotee, Akura, he mounted his chariot and set off for the cowherd village of Nandamaraj, Prayayal Nanda Gokulam. As he traveled on the road, and here's where the first, not the first, but a very important point is being made that's very relevant to our own Krishna consciousness. As he traveled on the road, Gachan Patti Mahabhago, this greatly fortunate soul, the great soul, as he traveled on the road, the great soul Akura felt tremendous devotion for the lotus-eyed personality of Godhead, for Krishna. He was filled with devotion for Krishna. And thus he began to consider as follows. So the next verses we shall go over tomorrow, because this, in his verses, in the verses of Akura's thoughts, are the real hints for our own journey to Vrindavan. And they're very wonderful in that way, because we are also meant to go to Vrindavan. So he felt tremendous devotion, so that in and of itself is an important point in our journey. We want to feel devotion for Krishna as we go and do our service, as we go on our journey to Vrindavan. So we are all on a journey to Vrindavan. Okay. Did you want to say something? We have a few minutes left. Are there any questions? Yes, Prabhu.
Prabhuji, we hear a lot about this Keshi Ghat and things like that in the description of pastimes of the Lord.
Yes.
But this seems to be the last demon which is killed.
Yes.
So how there is a lot of descriptions about Keshi Ghat, it comes in.
So the question is, yes, he's basically the last demon, although in the Bhagavatam, in that chapter 37, Vyomasura is killed after him, but I think that might be in the afternoon, and Keshi was killed in the morning. And what I can tell you, I'm not. You want some more information on Keshi, or?
No, how there is the Keshi Ghat is considered to be the place where the gopis meet Krishna, and those kind of descriptions are there.
No. The gopis don't meet Krishna in Keshi Ghat. They meet him in Vamsivat, which is near to Keshi Ghat. And near to Keshi Ghat is a tree where some say that Krishna stole the clothes of the gopis, and they call it Chirgat. But there's another Chirgat in a different place of Vrindavan. And this, in Chaitanya Charitamrita, this place that is Chirgat, I can't remember the exact word, but there's a word that means where Krishna rested after killing the Keshi demon. But I will tell you something very interesting. That Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he tells what the anartha that Keshi represents. In Krishna Samhita and in Chaitanya Charitamrita, there's the description of the symbolic meaning of the different demons that Krishna killed. You know that?
I read it sometime, but I
Yeah.
don't remember.
Yes. But anyway, Keshi, the last demon that Krishna kills, the last anartha, is the last danger that the devotees have before they become more purified, that has to leave. And that is, Keshi thought he was the greatest demon, and the last anartha is to think, I am a great devotee, and I'm better than these other devotees. That's the last anartha. And Krishna doesn't like his devotees to be proud. So he removes or will remove that anartha from the devotees. He will kill it. Isn't that interesting? That's the last anartha. I am a great devotee. Labha puja pratistati jata upasakagan. From Chaitanya Charitamrita. They don't know what a good devotee I am. They will soon understand. And then they will treat me properly. Beware, O Vaishnavas. Trinadapi Sunichana. Though, if we don't learn the lesson, Krishna will teach us this lesson out of his great mercy. Is that okay? Yes, Boo. That's all I could say at this point. Yes.
Thank you. So, Prabhu, we heard that the residents of Vrindavan, they always took shelter of Krishna
Yes.
in times of great difficulty. You gave two reasons. One was their natural affection, and the other was that they heard from Gargacharya, from Gargamuni, at the time of Krishna's naming ceremony. So I was just thinking that our Acharya is Srila Prabhupada, and purport after purport he's telling take shelter of the holy name. For residents of Vrindavan, it seems it was natural and common sense to take shelter of Krishna in times of difficulty. But for a struggling sadhaka like me, I'm always in conflict, thinking that God helps them who help themselves. So let me first try to deal with the problem myself, and when I'm unable to deal, then I'll go to Krishna. So,
But you just said it right there, because I find this with myself also. What should I do? Should I do it myself or just sit back and wait for Krishna to help me? But you just said the Lord helps those who help themselves. So when you're helping yourself, who's helping you? So you just said it. The Lord helps those. So you try, but you depend on Krishna. You use your God-given intelligence, whatever abilities you have, whatever contacts you have, whatever you can to do it. But ultimately, who are you depending on? You're not depending on your own abilities, because the things that devotees do are so far beyond their own abilities. It's Krishna that acts through them. That's how to be empowered. Like Prabhupada, for example, he did something that was basically impossible. If you devotees don't bet and gamble, but if someone told you that there was a 70-year-old Indian man who had no money and was going to go to the United States, and he didn't know anyone, and he was going to spread the Hare Krishna movement all over the world, and you would think another good story, but this will never happen. Naturally, you'd think like that. But it did happen. And Prabhupada worked like anything, but he also trusted Krishna like anything. And he knew that Krishna was empowering him. So even while he was doing the things, he knew that he wasn't an ordinary man. He was watching this Krishna use him. So I can't ask you this question directly, but all the devotees who do any preaching, who do any book distribution day after day, they see that Krishna can work through them. And soon as they sometimes forget that Krishna is working through them, they'll work and try to do it and nothing happens. And then they're forced to pray to Krishna and then take shelter of Krishna, and then they see Krishna work magic. So that's how devotees learn to trust Krishna, by doing things that they know are really beyond their capacity, but they watch Krishna time and time again, save them, protect them, and work through them. So someone could say, well, maybe you're just doing it yourself and you're just imagining that Krishna is working through you, etc., like that. But the devotees, how to say it, they feel the touch of Krishna's hand. this time and that time, and they know that Krishna tells them in a very subtle sense, and the non-devotees will say, oh, you're just imagining that, how do you really know, where's the scientific evidence, and on and on and on. But the devotees know that Krishna's been very kind to them. So yes, you do work. There's a Chinese saying that I don't know, but it goes like, there was a dog sitting by a rock, and he was very hungry, but he was tired. So as he was sitting by the rock, a rabbit came and running, and he ran into the rock and khatam ho gaya. And the dog thought, this is wonderful. I just have to sit here by the rock and food is going to come to me. So he sat there and sat there and sat there and sat there and nothing happened. So we could sit there and 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 nothing will happen. Well, if Krishna wants, something will happen. But what the devotee does is work very hard in Krishna's service, but depend on Krishna in all circumstances, in success or failure, just see Krishna, but try our best to please Krishna. That is our mission, to try our best to please Krishna, but with our words, by our actions, and by our thoughts. That's the great challenge of life, to have so much love and devotion and commitment to the service of Krishna that our words, our mind, and our activities are absorbed in his service. And it can't be done unless love develops, trust and affection develops. Is that okay? Kal. You know what that means. That means we'll go on with the lecture tomorrow and forget you have a question. No, but we have to end now. What? Yeah, tomorrow will be the first. It comes after the first part. There's 3 sections in the Akrura's thoughts. And there's many verses, but 3 sections. And these 3 sections that I'm not going to tell you what they are, they will reveal the path to Vrindavan for us as we walk this path in our lives. Will you come tomorrow? Good. I will also come. I will try my best also, because it's so important for me to hear it also, because it's the same path that we are on. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Sri Krishna ki jai, Akrura ki jai, Akrura's message ki jai, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada Bhaktivinoda ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premananda ki jai. But before I leave,